Hi, fellows. So we, as an ASAP team, decided that it would be best to hold a little demonstration for you all, kind of discussing the end of year report and kind of answering any questions that you may have. But first, I wanted to start by just taking you through the process of where you will find the end of year report when the time comes. We'll also probably send you an email out regarding the link to the end of your report. But if you have a question, we're going to just quickly walk you through the process of where you can go and find it on our actual website. So, first, this is our website. Hopefully, you guys see my cursor on the screen. It is stemteachers.asu.edu. This is our official ASAP website hub. I know that we have a lively Facebook group. I know that we have an Instagram. I know that we have a YouTube page where we post our webinar. And then I also know that I send out emails that has these different social media sites linked. But hopefully you guys know that besides receiving official emails from us, another official source that you can always go to for information is this website right here, our official Arizona STEM Acceleration Project website. And so from this main website, where you need to go specifically regarding getting to the end of year report when the time comes, you will go to the top and hopefully you, like I said, you see my cursor and you see these different tabs. You're specifically going to click on the Our Fellows tab. So click on the Our Fellows tab. Don't worry if you've never explored the website. On your own time, you can go and kind of explore the different tabs, the different things that we have underneath the tabs. But for the sake of this end of year report, we're going to keep it concise. So to get to the end of your report, you start on the home screen. And then, like I said, you move over to the tab that says Our Fellows. And then from there, you will scroll down. This page talks, about some of the benefits, the year two application, which you guys, of course, know is now closed. But then you get down to this section called requirements. And then here where it says requirements, it talks about the professional development, lesson plans, and then what is the STEM project / end of year report. So now one caveat that I will say before I stay over in this section right here is if you have any questions about where to find the link to submit professional development hours, the specific form, I know that this section used to have a link to a Google form here. We have now been able to update this. So this QR code, as well as this link right here, should take you specifically to our JOT form, which is the official way to submit professional development hours for year two. So you don't email them. And then also, if you ever sent any hours to the Google form that used to be here, you need to go back and they should all be through these means right here. But like I said, we're going to keep focus. We're not talking about professional development right now. We're talking about the end of year report. So the end of year report is where you will upload your receipts, where you will kind of write the description of the project or activity that you did throughout your year, kind of your ASAP capstone, either project or activity. You will write that information in your report. That's where you'll upload all pictures of the activities that you've done, because we are really looking for pictures. So, make sure when you're doing the activities that you count for the ASAP fellowship specifically, that you're taking pictures. And so, yeah, so that is all the type of information that goes in the end of year report. Receipts, pictures, description of the project. And just to kind of give you some little background knowledge, I know that it also has a link here. It says it has the report link. And I will take you there to kind of just see what it will look like. Now, mind you, disclaimer, I right-clicked it just to kind of have it pop up in a new tab instead of taking away this page completely, because I'm going to come back and talk about the end of year survey. But first, in terms of the report, disclaimer, as you guys can see, this says 2022 to 2023. Since we are in year 2, that is the 2023 to 2024 cycle. So just to let you all know, this is not the official report that you are supposed to fill out. The new end of year report, since we might be tweaking a few questions, different things like that, the new end of year report, and so it should say 2023 to 2024, that is going to be available for you in the spring of 2024. I'm just taking you here right now so you can kind of see what the process looked like. And so when you are in the official report, you should still be able to go through this process. And I just want to kind of show you the type of information that might be in the report, just for those people who kind of want to know kind of the behind the scenes and what to expect when it comes to the end of your report. So your name, your email, secondary email. This is really important. I want to make note, if you know that you are someone who maybe during the school year, you'll use your school email, but knowing that the end of year report isn't due until June, like June 30th of 2024, if you know that come summertime, you're not going to be looking at your school email, trying to block it out as if it was like a bad dream or something like that, please include a secondary email, whether it's like a Gmail, Yahoo, even if you have Hotmail, whatever secondary email might mean to you, please include it if you know that during the summer you are the type of person to not necessarily look at your school email. Or in fact, if you want to only put one email, just put whatever email you most likely will be looking at during the summer, just in case we have any questions or we need any revisions from you. Yes, and then also too, you can add your school name specifically, which is very important that you do, but you should also have this section that says if your school name is not listed above, you can type it in. I'll ask you about if you're planning to teach next year. And then this is the more so important section, getting into the information about the specific project that you completed. So I will mention, this is project name or names. I will mention, if you never thought of kind of assigning a specific name to your project, you can kind of think of something like if you are, for example, in the Madison School District and you know that you had a STEM night, maybe you could say something like Madison STEM night or something like that. That's not necessarily as big of a deal with a project name, but you can kind of think of something like that. But this is really what we're looking for. We are looking for you to provide 2 to 3 paragraphs describing what you actually did. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're comparing what you described in terms of your project or activity or STEM night, fair, whatever that may be. We're looking to compare what you said that you did, and then also to the receipts that you're able to upload in the report and that you have provided for us. Now, granted, there may be some items that you purchased for your classroom in general that didn't necessarily have anything to do with your project, because maybe to get to the full $2,000 worth of supplies, you just had to start getting some miscellaneous STEM items for your classroom. That's okay. But there should be, based on the project that you said that you were doing, some items that match in terms of the receipts that you're able to provide. And if anyone has any further questions about what that exactly means, or if you want to add some specific follow-ups, you can always schedule an office hour with me or send me an email. And then, okay, as you see here, it talks about the different categories. So contest or fair, we had a few people doing that. After school activities are completely fine. A lot of people typically do classroom activities or some type of STEM night. So these are really popular too. Or, there's people who also do school-wide projects. But if you feel like you don't really fall neatly into any of these categories, If you maybe feel like, oh, I did multiple, you can select multiple. Or if you feel like just in general, you don't feel like any of these really explain what you did, feel free to click other. And then after selecting other, you can kind of give a brief description if you feel like these options above don't necessarily count for you. And then two, it will ask you questions about, milestones. So it's like, did you complete your fellowship milestones? Preferably that should be a yes for everybody, that you completed your 30 hours of PD and that you completed your 4 lesson plans. But if for some reason that you didn't, you select no. And then what I will also say is, even if you received an extension for us by the time you're writing this report, you can still select no. And we'll still on our end kind of have the information on who has an extension and like what circumstances or what. So that's totally fine if you have to select no because you already have an extension. But most people, that should be a yes, that you have completed all fellowship milestones. And again, like I said, just remember, this is not the actual end of year report for the 2023 to 2024 year. Because, for example, you can see that this says July 31st. This is a date that was applicable for last year. So this is another way that you'll know, like, if you're in the right form or not, because it should say June 31st. But again, I'm just walking you through the report process just so that you can kind of see. But no, this is not what you guys will have because there might be some tweaks. But it'll still, going through this information will still give you a rough guesstimate of what can be expected of you in the report. And that's why we're providing this. And so then, yes, as you see, this portion right here, were you able to complete your final project for the fellowship? So that should be a yes for everyone. Now, for example, if you are someone who, let's say that you started a project this year with a class, let's say you had a classroom activity. Maybe you guys were looking at water levels or things of that nature. And maybe your perspective is, hey, this is something that I want to continue with my students even next year. So whether you do the ASAP program or not, the following year, you just know, hey, this is something that I want to continue with my classroom. Like, I think it sounds good. This is just something I want to keep going. For the sake of what you have done with ASAP, when we say final project, were you able to complete your final project? We're asking, were you able to complete a project? And so you would click yes. So even if you know that this is something that you want to continue with your students, or maybe an initiative that you want to keep having in your school moving forward, meaning, did you complete your project for ASAP requirements? You would still select yes. So even if you knew you want to continue it on, you would still select yes. Now, if you have to select no, then you'll have this option that says, please explain why you were not able to complete the project, different things like that. In this section, even if you already received an extension from us or you've had specific circumstances that you've already explained to the team, please include that information in the report. Please do not just type here, I already received an extension, or I already explained this to the ASAP team. Please kind of give a brief overview right here. You can type it out like da-da-da. You can type out a brief overview of what that explanation was so that we have just written record of that as well. And then also too, just for the sake of seeing the right boxes open, we'll say that you selected yes, and then that will take that box away that talks about the further explanation. So if you're able to say yes, you've completed the project, yes, you've completed your hours, then we're going to ask you about the number of students you were able to directly impact this year. Please give your best estimate with this number. If you have a concrete number, so you know that you have a concrete number that you reached. Please use that exact number, or if you have to make a guess on that number, please try to guess honestly. So if you know, for instance, that you did a classroom activity and you did it for four different groups of students, maybe 30 kids times four, based on if you rotate students throughout the year, something like that. Just the idea of, please be honest with your numbers when you are giving numbers, because we very much look at this data to look at, who we're impacting, who we're reaching. So we do need honest numbers for that. And then also too, we just ask that you provide, as I mentioned before, photos. So when we ask for photos, we are not necessarily looking for photos where you have to include kids' faces or anything of that nature, because, we're not looking for identifiable information for students. So if you want to provide photos of your complete project, that's completely fine if you feel more comfortable doing that instead of having photos of the kids. Now, we do love photos, of the kids interacting with the project. So maybe they're not looking at the camera, maybe they're, looking down and doing the actual work. So you can't necessarily see their faces, things like that. That's totally fine. But if you do find that as you're trying to get pictures, it just doesn't work out to where you can miss their faces, like you might see their faces, that's absolutely fine. Just feel free to, when you send the photos, you can have, either blur their faces out or anything like that. Or if you don't know how to do that, it's absolutely fine that you just update it as is. And if you give us permission to ever share testimonials of your project and share pictures, of the great work that you guys have all done, because we love being able to publicize these success stories of the great works, we will just blur out the faces of your students for you. So just know that the anonymity of the students is a top priority for us. So we got your back when it comes to that. And that's what we're looking for. Things like that, like either the kids engaging in the activities, either the finished work. We're looking for things like that when it comes to the photos. And then also too, we have this question last year where we asked, how did your final project differ from your proposed project? You can give a brief kind of overview of that. As this mentioned, here we're only looking for like maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs. It doesn't have to be anywhere near as extensive as the project description that we asked about up above. So that's completely fine. And so this also too, the question, is your project sustainable? Will you or someone else be able to continue this work after the funding ends? That is kind of like what I mentioned earlier, the idea of, do you see what you've done being something that you want to sustain, maybe going into the next year? And is that possible? Kind of a question like that. And if you believe yes, hit yes. And then if you think, no, I don't know if this would be an option, I don't know if I've set up an infrastructure to where this can be done again, or I don't know if this is something that I will do again or that someone else will do again if I'm not in this program, it's okay to select no. But if you do select yes, then that's when you can kind of answer this field, kind of discussing how you plan to sustain that. And then also too, if you answered no, what would be the barriers? And then as you notice with a few questions, there's some questions that have this red asterisk right here. That means that it is required. You have to answer these questions. But when you get to this section, these do not have any asterisks. These 3 right here. So it's talking about what were the greatest challenges, sharing success stories or wins, adding media attachments or any attachments. You don't have to fill out these questions, or at least for the first year, you didn't have to fill out these questions. But these are the type of questions that we would very much love if you would fill out. It's always great to know what were the challenges you guys were all facing. What successes did you have? What exciting media do you have, if you have any? So these are questions that we would like you to answer, even though you don't have to. But yeah, these are more additional questions. And then also too, so the end of year report is typically about, the project that you've done, the activity that you've done, getting information like that. But there is, at least on this format, at least on this version, an area that specifically does discuss professional development as well. So as this question says, like any PD partners that you attended this year, you can add them: AMTA, AATM, K through 12 Center, SciTech. This is just a brief example of some of the PD partners in the year 2 end of year report. This will probably be a more extensive list. But so yeah, this is just an example of how you can add multiple options, multiple partner options that you actually were able to attend. And then if you are someone who got permission to attend PD from other organizations, you would select yes. And then we ask that you please list them. And then what you would do if you have multiple is you would do something like this. And I'm saying example 1 and 2 just kind of showing you how you would look. You would put the name of the org, and then you would put this, name of another org, this, a name of another org, semicolon. You would add all the additional ones here and just separating them by some semicolons, so we'll just know. Okay. And then yes, please answer if you brought any non-ASAP fellows to these different opportunities. And then explain if you did, who did you invite and why? Or if you did not invite anyone, you can say no. And then that's fine. If you say no, they'll just take a little box. They'll just take the little box away. Now I will mention something actually about inviting non-ASAP fellows to PD opportunities. This is just like an FYI for the rest of the year in general. We have heard from some PD partners that some fellows are inviting people to PD opportunities who did not register. And they just ask that you guys please don't do that. If you do want to invite a non-ASAP fellow, a lot of the times that is fine. But if you do want to invite them, they still have to register though, because a lot of times with PD partners, it's a matter of attendance because they have a certain number of supplies and things portioned out according to who they were told is coming. So yeah, if you do want to invite a non-ASAP fellow and the PD partner allows it, keyword being like if they allow it, just make sure though that they still register, or that you still register them so they are accounted for in terms of having a certain amount of supplies for each person. Mm-hmm. And so then that was the brief section about, oh, sorry, I went a little too far, guys. Okay, yeah, so that was the brief section about professional development. Very short, not too much there, because like I said, the end of year report is mostly about, your project and supplies. Speaking of supplies, we have this section where you get a little into what you actually spent your supply money on. And so we are hoping, and it should be said for everyone, that you spent $2,000 on supplies. If you end up spending less than $2,000, that is something that you have to discuss with us as an ASAP team about what the potential hindrance is for you not spending $2,000. So please reach out to us if there is any reason why you feel like you would not, for the whole year, be able to spend $2,000 worth of supplies. That money really needs to be spent and accounted for. Since, as you all know, we are grant funded. Like we really need to make sure that money is accounted for. And so $2,000 has to be spent on supplies. And so there should be no reason why someone did not, unless they spoke with us first. And even then, we're still only in December of 2023, and the program ends in June of 2024. So there's plenty of time to be able to spend the $2,000. So yeah, so please, answer that question. And then also too, as you guys know, we really try not to have many consumables, if at all. We really kind of stand firm on like not wanting to have as much consumables or one-time use items. There's definitely times where you can reach out for questions and exceptions if things come up. And if you've talked to us about that, that's absolutely fine. But we do ask that if you do have to spend consumables, or if you do get these exceptions, that you do not spend more than $500 on consumables. So yeah, so you can kind of account for anything there, books, printed materials, education technology. As you can see, this is a section of just, kind of wanting to know where money was really allocated to. We even have this miscellaneous section if you feel like the supplies that you purchase don't neatly fit into any of these other categories. We also have this miscellaneous section. And then you're able to get into more in the miscellaneous section here. And then also too, one thing that we ask for the receipts is that you put every receipt in one file. So please make sure that it is all in one file, because we understand that you might have bought things from Amazon. Maybe you purchased some stuff in person. Your receipts might come from multiple different places, whether in person or online sources. But just for the ease of kind of tracking everything, please try to add everything into one PDF. We really appreciate it. And then also too, there's just going to be a section about final thoughts. Was your school supportive of your participation? Was your district supportive? Did you work with other fellows throughout the year? Did you connect with anyone? And then also some questions that, like I said, might be changed, because as it says, what could we do better in year 2? And we're currently in year 2 right now. So things like that will be changed, of course. And then also too, there's the question about consenting to any research. What that will definitely look like is for the different surveys that you do throughout the year. And then also too, like when you provide your media success stories, things like that, we just want to know if you would allow us to either use things for research and promotion. So the promotion would be the success stories, the media you provide, different things like that. If you don't want us to be able to use anything like that, you would select the option that says research only. So that means that we can use the numbers of how many students you've impacted. We can use like other numbers such as that, but we wouldn't be using your success stories or any media you provide. We would only be using the bare bones information for the research. And then if you do not consent to your research or any promotional things, you can always share that as well, because it's just up to what you are comfortable with. It is really helpful for us if you consent to the research and promotion, but it's also up to you. Like, what you're comfortable with and everything like that. So it is honestly, truly up to you what you select in this option. There's no penalty for choosing any which way or any which option. So yeah, so like I said, you guys, this is kind of a template that one can look at and look into when it comes to the end of year report and what we're exactly looking for. One thing I will say, like I already mentioned, please do not go on the website and look at this right now in December 2023 and try to fill this out in any way, because this is not the 2023 to 2024 end of year report for year 2. This is just what was on the site for year one. And we leave it up as an example and kind of like a template for you all, but not as something to go fill out right now. And so, yes, I hope this was really helpful to just go through that process and you guys just see when we keep saying end of year report, what that exactly means and what we're looking for. And then also, too, going back to this page, as I mentioned, so we have the end of year report. And then we typically, or at least from the first year, we had also an end of year survey. Now, since this is really a video about the report, I'm not going to get into the end of year survey right now. So I'm not going to click on the link and get into what that will look like. But again, it's just a matter of if you do click on the link and it is active, again, please do not try to fill this out in advance or anything like that, because we will potentially be making some tweaks to questions. Maybe the questions themselves, maybe we'll add a few questions, maybe we'll take some away. There are some questions that maybe they're not required now. Maybe they don't have the red asterisk, but maybe they will coming forward. This was just a video to show you kind of what we're looking for when we talk about the end of year report. And then, like I said, for the sake of time, I'm not going to get into the end of year survey, but it would just be the same type of thing of please don't try to submit anything before it's time. These will be available in the spring of 2024, the updated versions. These are kind of just templates so you can see what exactly we have when we are asking about these different things. So yes, please let me know if you have any questions. Again, I will go through the process of this is our landing page when you put in our website of stemteachers.asu.edu. And then at the top, you will slide on over to the Our Fellows tab. You will scroll down, and under the requirements section, the STEM projects / end of year report, when the new one is up, you'll just be able to click on the link that says end of year report. And then you will just fill everything out. And then press submit at the very end. So that's it, guys. That's all that I have for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this video was helpful for you. Okay, bye.